Hello, good morning, Nicholas and colleagues. Thank you for inviting me to participate in your learning event through video. Next year will be an important landmark year in our work to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. In August next year, it will be 15 years since the Beijing Platform for Action was adopted. The countries of the world will be reviewing their progress since the last global review 5 years ago. The year will also mark 10 years since the Millennium Declaration was adopted. We will be left with 5 years to the target date of 2015 when the Millennium Development Goals should have been achieved. It will take strong political leadership, strong partnerships, dedicated resources, and strategic planning for the goals to be achieved. And we know that women continue to be more vulnerable to poverty than men around the world. That is why gender equality and women's empowerment, Millennium Development Goal 3, is not only a goal in its own right, but also a means for achieving the other goals. Our administrator, Helen Clark, has asked us to focus on two main priorities in our work: poverty reduction and the achievement of the Millennium Development Goals, and addressing the challenge of climate change. This year has also seen important decisions on gender equality and women's rights at the United Nations. In September, the General Assembly made a resolution towards establishing a new gender entity. The Secretary General was requested by member states to produce a comprehensive proposal outlining the mission statement of the entity, the organizational arrangements, the funding, the governance structure, and to spell out provisions for establishing the Under-Secretary General position to head the entity. The Deputy Secretary General is leading this process, and I'm happy to let you know that UNDP is actively involved in it. The proposal should be ready by the end of the year. It will then go to the member states for further debate. There is a great expectation, especially in the global women's movement, that the new entity will come into being by the end of next year. This historic decision will give women a place at the table at the highest level of decision making in the United Nations. The UN entity should result in more resources to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. It will strengthen coordination and collaboration among UN partners and their national counterparts in the field, and it should deepen accountability by the United Nations for women's rights. What this means for UNDP is that we will continue working on our mandate to promote gender equality across our broad development program. But we will be asked to do more and to do better, including accounting for results. The bar has been set higher. A second major development at the UN was the adoption of Security Council resolutions 1888 and 1889, also in September this year. The two resolutions seek to strengthen women's protection and address their exclusion from peace building in post-conflict contexts. As you may recall, Resolution 1820 in 2008 established the link between sexual violence and women's security in conflict contexts. For the first time in the history of the UN, sexual violence was recognized as a security issue. 1888 now provides concrete ways to implement 1820 by providing for protection and women's participation in mediation and peace-building processes. On its part, Security Council Resolution 1889 builds on the historic Resolution 1325 adopted in 2000. It pays particular attention to addressing women's needs and strengthening women's roles in the immediate post-conflict and peace-building period. This resolution, 1889, establishes high-level leadership in the form of a special representative of the Secretary General on sexual violence in conflict contexts, who will strengthen coordination of the UN. Both resolutions represent a very important and positive change in the UN architecture for protection of civilians. Apart from committing the governments of conflict countries, the resolutions have wide implications for the work of UNDP. I urge you at the Regional Center in Bangkok and colleagues in the country offices of conflict countries such as Nepal, Timor-Leste, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and others to study these two resolutions carefully and to plan how you will support your countries to respond effectively. I congratulate you on organizing this annual learning event. I understand it is your third. Congratulations. I strongly encourage you to focus your learning on the two key priorities spelled out by our administrator: supporting your countries to accelerate their progress towards reducing poverty by half and achieving the MDGs, and to address the challenge of climate change from a gender perspective. I wish you a very successful learning experience. Thank you.